Hello, my name is Cesar Cacho. This is my week 6 presentation about risk management. The past 6 weeks have been a great journey and learning all the necessary process to reach the risk registers has been really gratifying. In this time, I will be speaking about some important steps I took to create the risk register of a fictitious project for a Peruvian TV network. The previous weeks, I have been touching topics from live festivals to restaurants to also an American TV network, but I decided to dig deeper in the national context of my country, Peru, and hopefully find something interesting. This is a very complex project, and I hope to make it as small as possible, so I only chose 5 risks to explain later on in the risk response and risk register and contingency, just to, in the small time that we have together, make it understandable. First of all, there's a little background about the company. American Television, it's a TV network company that has over 60 years of experience here in the market. It's one of the most, it's the biggest, you could say, and it's one of the most viewed TV network here. One of their plans that I have been reading through the newspapers is they want to globalize its content through partnerships and etc. And this is my version and a fictitious version of what are the risks that could appear if project of this type really happens in reality. So I decided to create a small fictitious risk register, and uh, from slide number 5 through the rest of everything, I'm going to explain how I got to certain topics around it. So first of all, we had a stakeholder analysis. This is a really important document because we are going to find and identify the stakeholders' requirements and expectations. Also, it's really important because we're going to start finding possible owners of the risks that may appear. And this information will later go to a risk management plan and so on. So something really important that I found here on slide number 8 is you could say that I focus most on the stakeholders, the boards of the companies, the CEO of Grupo Plural TV, the owner of America, the CEO of America, the vice president, president. 3 important assets here is the CTO, who is in charge of the finance and budgeting, so it's important in this project. Also the marketing manager, who's in charge of selling and buying content, and also the head of development, who's in charge of developing the content that maybe we are going to export. You could see here the influence and interest these people have, and you could say that the head of development has the same interest and influence as the 2 CEOs, because America Television is a TV network, so content is what drives the company. Then we have a risk register question. This is a really important document because we're going to start identifying the possible categories of risk and also threats and opportunities. This is later going to be touched, but here we're going to start having like an idea of what may appear to us, and this will later help us throughout the other documents. So here on slide number 11 and 12, I just put a couple of questions that may appear. For example, one of the first questions is, what will happen in the organization if the project fails or succeeds? This is really important because one of the cultural organizational elements of America is to always have a good image, a successful image to the competitors. So actually stakeholders really would want the company to succeed. And the second question, does America have the resources to undertake the hard take of globalization? Here the CTO could come with the budget, the head of development could see we have the talent to take over that. So it's really important to understand all of this risk that may appear. In the second page on slide number 12, it's a really interesting question, especially on TV networking, which is how much time do we have for procurement and arranging use of external third party resources? TV companies have a lot of money and a lot of locations and TV studios, but sometimes we need to reach to third parties for certain specific things that later on you're going to see in the risk registers. One of the risks is that. So this is really important because here in Peru, formality it's kind of put to a side, and sometimes informality rises up in the surface. So all has to be documented, and we need to understand that there's a lot of money involved in this project. So this is going to be really interesting in the cost, in the earth value management, in the cost and in the cost benefit analysis. So it's going to be a nice question, but things like that come from brainstorming with the stakeholders. So this is amazing. Then from slide number 13, we're going to jump to a SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Here we're going to dig deeper and understand what are real opportunities and real threats, and what could be a strength to maybe react to what is our strength, to maybe react to the threats, and what could be our weakness that can affect us. So here we're going to start thinking about the resources and the risk response, having like a little panorama about it. And here on slide number 15 we have the SWOT. So actually 4 questions about each area that I wanted to touch was things that could really apply on TV networking globalization projects. Excuse me. Number first is on strength. We can offer guaranteed viewers and historical successful data. So this can go all the way from the OPAs even, and the type of templates that the company had been using, the type of historical data it has, which would also serve for data analysis to maybe figure out how's the budget going, maybe for analogous estimating, etc. So we can ensure to the stakeholders and to possible shareholders and financiers that things may go well because from the past 20 years the company has a solid reputation for giving viewers and giving money back to the company. One of our weaknesses is that we lack knowledge in international content and international social research. Our content has never been known for projecting in other countries. The few TV shows and films that have been projected in Colombia, in Argentina, maybe the States, even America, didn't really have the success that they wanted because maybe the content is not made for them. So here we need to understand how this can become a risk and how we're going to respond to it, which is one of the things in the response. One of the opportunities that we have right now is new international interest in consuming foreign content, which is something that you can see from the previous 2 Oscar things. Roma won the Oscar being a Mexico film, and now Parasite being a Korean film. So everybody wants to consume foreign countries, so we can give quality content to other countries. I think they would like to maybe use that, And also one of the opportunities is the current pandemic is obliging people to use more streaming platforms. So American having its own streaming platform is gonna have already like a step forward in creating this whole globalization thing. And one of the threats that we have is the lack of educational resources to train possible workers and workers that are already in the company. We don't have a film school, we don't have a TV school, so that may be something that we need to focus internally to train them to the quality that we want them to get to. Then we go to a risk breakdown structure. This is really important because this is our first approach to really identifying the categories. And also is really important because this will help us have like a visual hierarchy of the risk and understand if all the relevant points are being touched in the project. So as you can see here on slide number 18, excuse me, I'm just taking my time. As you can see here on slide number 18, we have the categories used in the risk register, from Stegner to technical to design to management to organizational, and a couple of things that may appear throughout the project. For example, an external local television taxes, the rules and maybe the Minister of Culture, who is in charge of promoting the TV network, radio, etc., may put to us. On technical, we are implying a new whole revolution of technical equipment and installations, so we need to have the IT resources to do them. Design, we need to design a whole set of documentations that will adapt. Well, I'm so sorry, we have some technical difficulties from the camera and some sound things going on in the building. I hope that you understand. So I stop on the risk breakdown structure in the design of documents that we may need to adapt due to the new trends that are going on. On organizational, I mentioned two important things that I really like is the international business approach that maybe the company lacks, because it's more focused on the local content, and also this is part of the culture of the company. And in management, the third-party contracts, and also maybe the budget and overhead cost and budget, which is something that really exists in all the TV network and films. You can speak to TV producers and I want to tell you this is part. So we just need to accept that. This is the 5 risk threats for the presentation purpose. One, as you can see, is 1.2. The Ministry of Culture inspections, again, is 2.3. Technological upgrade of television studios. Then 3.4, brand and possible update. 4.4, industry knowledge. And 5.1, specific and expert label availability. So this is the probability and impact matrix. This is a visual representation of the possible impacts our risk may have on our project. And here we start to define the priority and the urgency of the risk and the type of responses we may need for them. So here, as you can see on slide number 22, we have the matrix. It has a few changes from the previous test that I did about CVS All Access, because it's also a TV network. 2 things or 3 things that I added was the Ministry of Culture require guidelines for international audiovisual projects. This is something that we need to fulfill because it's the law. So I don't think it's going to create too much risk. That's why I believe that it may not really happen, but if it happens, it's going to create a great impact. And then, it may really happen, but it may not create such a great impact because there's always a way to have like a fallback plan. And, you can invite the ministry to launch and everything, tricks under the hand for this type of things. And another thing that as you can see, production will go over budget. This is a high risk that the probability of it happening is too much, but also this is the impact will also maybe delay some projects in the company, but I think that we can manage it through. So this is the risk response. We're going to start from the slide number 25. The category is external. Risk response was to mitigate. We already know the rules. We already are working with a lawyer team. So we just need to find a way to work around them and have a contingency and fallback plan in case the government tries to intercept too much in our project. The slide number 26 is the category is technical, to upgrade the television studios. And I believe this we can transfer to a third party that knows about the television technical aspect, and they can charge decent amount of money, but it's the best option because we don't have internal experts that can come and settle down everything. So it's better to transfer to a third party. Then the brand impossible update with a design, with a category design. This we need to escalate to the stakeholders because we're not in charge of excuse me, we're not in charge of changing the image of the company and everything. We may propose the idea, but at the end is the decision is made by the stakeholders. 28, the category is management. The response is to accept it, and the risk is industry knowledge. We already know we're underdogs in the industry, so we just need to handle that and actually maybe use it like in our favor, to see like the underdogs that want to compete with the big dogs. So we just need to accept that and have the enough budget that this risk may incur. And on slide number 29, we have a specific and expert level availability. This is organizational, and it's actually to try to avoid that. So we need to really go to the root cause of it and find a way to see if the workers that are in the company can receive the quality training, and find a way if the workers that we may hire can come from quality training. So the contingency and fallback plan is really simple. For 1.2, which is the Ministry of Culture inspections, like I said, we need to have a budget for it, for certain lawyers, and from extracurricular activities with the ministry. Then on 2.3, technological upgrade of the studios, we know that we may need to have a second company to be in charge of this in case the first one doesn't really like deliver as expected. 4.4, industry knowledge. There's a budget there for promotions and campaigns to really put us there with the big dogs. And also 5.1, which is a specific and expert level availability, which is a possible budget to hire international talent to come here and maybe teach the workers about how this high quality thing goes. And as we can see here, the risk register document of the globalization of America television on slide number 36 and 37. You can see that everything is pulled down together. You can see who are the risk owners, the risk rating, the probability and the impact, and we also created just a small contingency plan of how to react to each risk through it. So I believe that if we see it right now like on a solid image, that this is a nice project, I believe would not only benefit the organization but also the country. So I believe that certain risks like the Ministry of Culture and internal regulations could not even bother us too much. And also I believe the talent, knowing that it's going to be exposed to the world, will actually step up their game and understand that the best for them is to really put their best effort in the project. So thank you so much. I hope you understood more about my country and about the TV network, which is an amazing world. And thank you so much and stay safe.